Have you ever met anyone in this life who has never known sorrow or suffering? Have you ever known someone who has never tasted sadness or misfortune? Even someone of immense wealth and fortune, far more blessed than many others, has likely sighed and whispered to themselves, "Why is life so hard?" Suffering, in all its forms and shades, is an inescapable part of human existence. It is like a red thread running through every story, every life, sparing no one regardless of wealth, status, or circumstances. Where do we begin when life is so full of suffering and chaos? This is not merely a question. It is a deep echo from the heart of every human being. A profound, complex question that defies easy answers, yet is something no one can avoid confronting during their journey through life. In a world where pain, disorder, and decline are inevitable, we have all, at least once, wondered, how can we live more resiliently? How can we overcome challenges, difficulties, and seemingly inescapable misfortunes? How do we face the cruel ironies of fate? And more importantly, how do we find meaning and peace amidst this endless sea of suffering? These questions are not just yours or mine, but are shared by humanity and have been pondered for thousands of years. They are instinctive questions arising from our innate desire to understand life and ourselves. These questions form the foundation of countless religions, philosophies, and ideologies, relentless human efforts to unravel the mysteries of suffering and find light within overwhelming darkness. Among all the answers humanity has ever devised, one story stands out. It is not merely an answer, but a journey in search of truth, a philosophy so profound that it challenges the limits of perception and ego. It is a light kindled in the deepest darkness of pain, a beacon of hope in an unending chaos. It is the story of the birth of Buddhism, a path not just to understand life, but to fully embrace and live it. Buddhism is not merely a religion, it is an invitation to confront life's hardest questions, not with fear or avoidance, but with courage, mindfulness, and compassion. This philosophy does not promise a life free of suffering, but instead shows us how to transcend it, to find meaning even amid the harshest trials. The story of Buddhism is not only the story of an individual, an era, or a civilization. It is the story of all of us, our relentless efforts to seek truth, peace, and freedom amidst the myriad conflicts and sufferings of life. Siddhartha Gautama, The Journey of a Destined Life. Around the 6th to 4th century BCE, in a serene region of what is now southern Nepal, a boy was born who carried the immense expectations of an entire kingdom. His name was Siddhartha Gautama, and from the moment he first cried, his destiny was marked as extraordinary. Siddhartha was born into a noble family, where his father, King Shuddhodana, ruled a burgeoning small kingdom on the Indian subcontinent. King Shuddhodana was not only an ambitious political leader, but also a devoted father with boundless love for his son. When Siddhartha was born, a renowned seer visited the palace and delivered a prophecy that left the entire court in awe. This boy will become one of two things. He will either be a great king, conquering lands far and wide, or a spiritual leader of unparalleled stature, guiding humanity toward truth. Hearing the prophecy, King Shuddhodana was deeply concerned. He did not want his son to abandon the throne to pursue the path of truth. To him, there was only one acceptable path for Siddhartha: to become a great king, inheriting and expanding the legacy of their dynasty. Thus, Siddhartha was raised in a meticulously crafted environment where everything was perfect to the last detail. His palace was not only magnificent, but also designed as a world completely isolated from reality. Any sign of illness, old age, or death was entirely eliminated. Anything that could cause him doubt or worry was kept far away. Every day, Siddhartha was surrounded by the best life had to offer: splendid gardens, enchanting music, and the dedicated service of hundreds of attendants. He never had to face pain, sorrow, or imperfection. His father believed that by shielding him from all suffering, Siddhartha would never seek anything beyond what was provided within the palace. Yet amidst this perfection, Siddhartha began to sense that something was amiss. The world around him seemed too smooth, too flawless, a perfection that felt unreal. He began to grow curious, questioning what lay beyond the towering walls of the palace. Why had his father created such an enclosed world? He felt as though he was living in a golden cage, beautiful yet suffocating. As Siddhartha grew from a boy into a vibrant young man, a quiet fire burned within him, the fire of curiosity and a yearning for understanding. He began asking himself, what is life truly about? Why do we exist? Is there more to life than what I've been shown? These questions became increasingly impossible to suppress. By the time he turned 29, his desire to break free of his father's carefully constructed rules had become overwhelming. Siddhartha resolved to venture beyond the palace walls to discover the real world, a world he had never known. Reluctantly, King Shuddhodana allowed Siddhartha to leave the palace, but only after thorough preparation. The king ordered all signs of illness, old age, and suffering to be cleared from the streets before Siddhartha's journey. He wanted to maintain the illusion that the outside world was just as perfect as the palace. But life is not so easily concealed. On his first journey beyond the palace walls, Siddhartha encountered things that would forever alter his life. On his first outing, Siddhartha saw a man gravely ill, his body frail, weak, and racked with pain. Siddhartha, having never witnessed such a thing, asked his attendant, "What has happened to this man?" The attendant replied, "This is illness, my lord. Anyone can fall ill like this." Siddhartha was stunned, a profound unease creeping into his mind. On his second journey, he saw an old man with white hair, a hunched back, and a face etched with deep wrinkles. "What has happened to this man?" he asked. "My lord, this is old age. Everyone will grow old like this." The answer left Siddhartha deeply shaken. On his third outing, he encountered a funeral procession. A lifeless body lay still, surrounded by the mournful cries of family and friends. Siddhartha had never seen death before. "What has happened? Is this person asleep?" he inquired. When it was explained to him that this was death, the end of life, Siddhartha felt as if his entire understanding of existence was collapsing. Finally, on his fourth journey, Siddhartha came across a monk meditating under a tree, his face radiating a profound sense of peace. Amid all the suffering and despair he had just witnessed, the sight of this serene figure was like a ray of light. Why is this man so calm? He wondered. These encounters changed Siddhartha forever. They did not only upend his worldview, but also ignited a determination within him. He had to find the truth. He could no longer live within the false comfort of the palace, where all suffering was hidden. He needed to understand, why was life so full of suffering, and was there a way to overcome it? That night, Siddhartha left the palace. He abandoned everything, his family, wealth, and power, to embark on an unprecedented journey. A journey to seek the truth, to find answers to life's most profound questions. From that first step, the story of Siddhartha Gautama, the man who would become the Buddha, began. A story not just of one individual, but of human growth, enlightenment, and the universal struggle against the darkness of suffering. Leaving the palace on a quiet night, Siddhartha Gautama abandoned not just his family, wealth, and power, but also the illusions that had been nurtured within him since childhood. He stepped onto an unfamiliar path, carrying with him the pain and questions. Why is life so full of suffering? Is there a way to transcend the unavoidable miseries of existence? Forsaking everything he had known, Siddhartha entered a world entirely new to him. No longer shielded by the palace walls, he began to see the world as it truly was, teeming with poverty, illness, and the sorrows of humanity. Yet he also witnessed the beauty of life, the radiant hues of a sunrise, the simple smiles of laborers, and the hopeful eyes of children. All of these, whether brilliant or somber, were facets of the world he was determined to explore and understand. On his journey, Siddhartha sought out renowned teachers of his time to learn from them. He studied religious doctrines, philosophies, and advanced methods of meditation. Siddhartha was not only a diligent student, but also one who questioned relentlessly. Can these teachings truly explain the nature of suffering? Can they lead to genuine liberation? Through each lesson and every hour of meditation, Siddhartha gradually realized that these teachings had yet to provide the answers he sought. They were like shimmering lights, unable to pierce the profound darkness within his mind. He sensed that the truth lay somewhere beyond the confines of the doctrines he had studied. unsatisfied with what he had learned, Siddhartha decided to push further. He joined a group of ascetics, individuals who believed that liberation could only be achieved through the complete renunciation of bodily and mental pleasures. They chose to live in poverty, forgoing adequate food, enduring the cold, and practicing severe forms of self-mortification. Siddhartha threw himself into this path with unyielding determination. Day by day, he subsisted on a few grains of rice and sips of water, meditating for hours on end. His body withered, reduced to little more than skin and bones, yet his resolve to uncover the truth remained unshaken. If I must give up my life to find the truth, so be it, he thought. However, as he pushed his body to its limits, Siddhartha came to a bitter realization. Physical suffering did not lead to liberation. Instead, it only made the mind weaker and more fatigued. In a state of both physical and mental exhaustion, he recognized that extreme asceticism was not the path to the truth. The middle way, awakening of reason. After months of self-mortification, Siddhartha decided to abandon the path of asceticism. This was not an act of surrender, but a significant turning point in his understanding. He realized that truth did not lie in extremes, not in indulgent luxury, nor in severe self-denial. Instead, he chose the middle way, a balanced path where both body and mind are nurtured harmoniously. For the first time in months, Siddhartha allowed himself to eat a simple bowl of porridge, regaining his strength. The ascetics who had practiced alongside him believed he had forsaken his ideals and abandoned him. But Siddhartha remained undeterred. He knew that the path he had chosen, though solitary, was the right one. Under the Bodhi tree, the moment of enlightenment. Having abandoned extreme asceticism, Siddhartha sought refuge under a large Bodhi tree near a riverbank, where he resolved to meditate until he found the answers he sought. Even if I must sit here for the rest of my life, I will not move until I attain enlightenment, he vowed. During the days of meditation, Siddhartha faced immense challenges. Painful memories, fears, and mental temptations surfaced, attempting to draw him away from the path of enlightenment. Yet he confronted each of these obstacles with unwavering resolve. He observed them, understood them, and ultimately overcame them. Then, on a serene night, as the gentle moonlight illuminated the world, Siddhartha attained enlightenment. He saw the true nature of existence, that suffering is an inevitable part of life, but it is not its conclusion. He understood that suffering arises from desire and attachment, and that by letting go of these, one can achieve true freedom. This profound realization became the foundation of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, principles that would later guide countless individuals on their journey to liberation. Siddhartha Gautama, now the Buddha, had discovered not only the answers to his own questions, but also a path that could lead others to transcend suffering and find peace. The moment of enlightenment was not merely Siddhartha's liberation, it marked the beginning of a new path for humanity. From beneath the Bodhi tree, the light of truth began to spread, illuminating hearts shrouded in the darkness of suffering. Siddhartha was no longer a seeker. He had become a guide, one who would share his philosophy to help others find peace and freedom. Thus, Siddhartha's spiritual journey did not end under the Bodhi tree. It was only the beginning of a grand mission to bring the light of enlightenment to the world. With compassion as his foundation and wisdom as his compass, Siddhartha Gautama set forth as the Buddha, dedicating his life to teaching others the way to transcend suffering, discover inner peace, and attain true freedom. His path was no longer his alone. It became a beacon for all who yearned for understanding and liberation. The philosophy of anatta, true freedom of the soul. Anatta, or non-self, is one of the most profound and challenging concepts in the Buddha's philosophy. It not only transforms the way we perceive ourselves, but can also reshape how we live and interact with the world. To truly understand anatta, we must first unravel the layers of illusion we often build around the idea of self, or ego. Take a moment to ask yourself, who am I? Am I this body? Am I my thoughts, emotions, or memories? Or am I the labels I carry, such as parent, employee, or friend? From birth, We are accustomed to identifying and attaching ourselves to things like our name, appearance, profession, possessions, and relationships. We construct an image of a self and strive to protect and nurture it. However, the Buddha taught that all these things are impermanent and do not truly represent our essence. Our bodies change every day. Thoughts, emotions, and memories come and go like fleeting clouds. Even the titles and roles we assign ourselves are temporary. The self we perceive as constant is, in reality, a collection of ever-changing elements. The Buddha described this attachment to the ego as an illusion, a misunderstanding that causes us to cling to things that do not exist in the way we imagine. The philosophy of anatta does not imply that we do not exist. Rather, it suggests that we do not exist in the way we commonly believe. We are a complex interplay of 5 aggregates: body, sensations, perceptions, thoughts, and consciousness. These aggregates are not fixed but are in constant flux. Like a flowing river, we are a stream of experiences, not a static or separate entity. When we understand that the self is merely an illusion, we begin to see that clinging to it is the root of suffering. We suffer because we try to hold on to things that cannot be held: youth, love, success, or approval from others. By accepting that everything is impermanent and the self is a temporary construct, we can release these attachments. Letting go does not mean apathy or detachment from life. It means engaging with the world without being bound by it. When we no longer cling to the illusion of a fixed self, we can respond to life's challenges with greater resilience and peace. Anatta offers us the opportunity to live with freedom from the fears and desires that arise from a misunderstood self. It is not a denial of existence, but an invitation to experience life as it is, dynamic, interconnected, and full of possibilities. By embracing this truth, we take the first step toward liberation, transcending the illusions that bind us to suffering and discovering the boundless peace and wisdom that lies within. The concept of anatta, non-self, is not merely an abstract philosophical idea. It offers practical applications that help us live more freely and reduce the pressures of daily life. Much of the stress we experience stems from protecting the self. We worry about how others perceive us, fear losing our reputation, possessions, or relationships. However, when we understand that these things do not define who we truly are, we can shed these burdens. Recognizing the impermanence of everything allows us to live more lightly and with less anxiety. When someone hurts us, our self often feels offended, leading to resentment. But if we realize that the self is just a temporary collection of phenomena, it becomes easier to let go of negative emotions. Forgiveness not only frees others, but also liberates us. Without clinging to the self and its expectations, we can live more fully in each moment. This enables us to appreciate the small joys around us, like the morning birdsong, a refreshing breeze, or a warm smile from a loved one. Life becomes more meaningful when we focus on the present. Anatta also helps us see that the boundary between self and others is an illusion. We are not separate entities but part of a larger flow of life. This realization fosters compassion and understanding for those around us, helping us live more harmoniously and connected with our communities. Anatta is not just a philosophy but a way of life, guiding us toward freedom, peace, and harmony with ourselves and the world. Understanding and applying the philosophy of anatta is not easy. We are so accustomed to identifying with the ego that letting go of it can feel disorienting or even frightening. However, like learning to ride a bike or swim, the first step is always the hardest. The Buddha did not ask us to abandon everything immediately, but encouraged us to observe, reflect, and experience gradually. The philosophy of anatta is not merely about renunciation, but about embarking on a journey to discover true freedom. When we are no longer bound by the ego, no longer afraid of loss or failure, life becomes lighter. We do not need to add anything to feel whole, only to let go of what is not truly us. The Buddha once said, "Conquering yourself is the greatest victory." Understanding anatta is the first step in conquering ourselves, to live a life of peace, unbound by illusions and suffering. Embrace Buddhism in the modern context, a path amidst chaos. Over millennia, Buddhism has not only endured but has also integrated into diverse cultures, from east to west. Unlike many religions that rely on belief in supernatural entities, Buddhism is a philosophy and practice rooted in direct experience and self-observation. It does not demand blind worship or absolute faith in anything beyond human comprehension. Instead, it focuses on exploring the nature of ourselves and the world around us through practice. In today's fast-paced world, dominated by stress, pressures, and constant distractions from technology, the core values of Buddhism have become increasingly relevant and necessary. Buddhism is not an ancient relic confined to the past, but a guiding light, inviting us to slow down, reflect deeply, and seek peace amidst the unending chaos of modern life. By applying the principles of mindfulness, compassion, and non-attachment, Buddhism offers a timeless roadmap to navigate the complexities of today's world and find meaning in our existence. It invites us to cultivate inner peace and resilience, enabling us to thrive even amidst uncertainty and turbulence. Buddhism is not only a profound philosophical system, but also provides practical principles that can be applied to daily life. In work, with the pressures of modern life, people often feel overwhelmed. Practicing mindfulness helps us focus on the present, free from distractions caused by worries or expectations. By being truly present in each task, we become more efficient, reduce stress, and enjoy each moment of the working process. In relationships, many conflicts arise from the ego, the need to assert the self, and the desire for things to go our way. Buddhism, with its understanding of non-self and impermanence, helps us approach issues with greater ease. When we realize that everything changes and the ego is temporary, it becomes easier to forgive, let go of resentment, and build understanding and empathy in our relationships. When facing stress and anxiety, Buddhist philosophy guides us to focus on what can be controlled, instead of worrying about things beyond our reach. For example, instead of excessively worrying about the future, we can concentrate on specific actions in the present to create positive change. This approach alleviates pressure and brings a greater sense of stability to life. Finally, learning to let go is an essential skill emphasized in Buddhism. Letting go does not mean indifference or giving up, but rather accepting reality and moving forward without being bound by past pain or loss. Whether it is failures at work, emotional wounds, or inevitable losses, letting go brings inner freedom and liberation, allowing us to live more lightly and peacefully. Let's embrace an invitation to a meaningful life. Buddhism, though born thousands of years ago, retains its core value in guiding people to find meaning amidst the chaos of life. It does not demand blind belief, but encourages us to experience it for ourselves. Without rigid dogmas or supernatural requirements, Buddhism is simply an invitation to look inward, observe reality, and seek the truth. The modern world may be complex and chaotic, but that doesn't mean we have to lose ourselves. Buddhist philosophy is a lamp, illuminating the path for those willing to pause, listen, and seek peace within their own souls. Perhaps in that peace, we may find hope. A hope to live better, more meaningful lives, even as challenges persist. Let's follow each person's journey to truth. The story of Siddhartha Gautama, from a prince surrounded by luxury to an enlightened being, is not merely his story but a reflection of the journey we all take or will take. It is a journey of growth, from the illusions of youth to confronting reality, from material desires to seeking deeper meaning in life. Buddhism, with its practical and profound principles, does not promise a perfect, pain-free world. On the contrary, it acknowledges that suffering is an inevitable part of life. However, it is how we perceive and confront suffering that determines how we live. This philosophy does not paint a glorious illusion, but instead guides us to face the truth, sometimes stark, sometimes difficult, and find peace within it. The core message of Buddhism lies not only in letting go, but also in awakening and understanding. It invites us to listen to ourselves, recognize the impermanence of life, and learn to love, not only others, but also ourselves. Whether you choose to practice Buddhism as a religion or simply draw inspiration from its philosophies, the journey holds invaluable lessons. It teaches compassion, loving without conditions, mindfulness, living fully in the present moment, and letting go, releasing unnecessary burdens. In today's turbulent world, Buddhist philosophy serves as a guiding light, reminding us that peace does not come from changing the world around us, but from transforming ourselves. And perhaps as we find peace within, the world itself will become gentler. Your journey, like Siddhartha Gautama's, is a journey back to yourself, a place of understanding, freedom, and true meaning. Thank you for being with us this far. If this video resonates with you, we invite you to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. Let's walk this path to peace and mindfulness together. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next videos.